Hi guys, welcome to my channel. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is doing great. If you're new here, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. Longest time no video. Well, life happens, but we move. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew a basic top or a bodycon top. Okay, so let's get started. So for this project, all you need is just 1 yard of a super stretchy fabric, and the fabric I'm working with is a lycra fabric. Is the thick type, not the soft one. Those soft ones are mainly used for lining your soft fabric like chiffon and the rest of them. So I'm working with a thicker lycra fabric. Okay, so for the measurement we need, you need your shoulder measurement, you need your bust, waist, then your upper hip, not your normal hip. Okay, so if you don't know how to get your normal upper hip, I'm going to quickly show you that before we proceed. So to get your upper hip is just below your tummy. Okay, so that is where you're going to measure. So this is it, and you see I got 40, though the 40 is a bit loose, but it's okay. So for my normal hip, this is my normal hip, that is my lower hip. Can you see? It's 44. So there is a big difference between the upper hip and your lower hip. That is your normal hip. Okay, so you'll be using your upper hip so that the top will fit very well with. So I've gone ahead to mark the starting line, as you can see. So the first measurement we are going to be taking is the shoulder measurement. The shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches divided by 2 will give me 7.5. So this is 7.5. I will not be adding any seam allowance to join to the sleeve, no. Okay, so at that point I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Okay, next I'm going to take the width, the neck width, which is 3.5. I'm drafting the back first, then I'll later, when I'm done, I'll use it to mark draft the front, then adjust the neckline and the armhole. Okay, so the neck width is 3.5 for the back, and the neck depth for the back is 1 inch. Okay, so this is it. So next I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect the points to form the neck curve. Okay, next I'm going to connect the width, neck width, the neck to the shoulder slope. Okay, so this is it. So next thing we're going to do is to mark the armhole line, and for the armhole line I'm working with is a 7.5. So I'll mark that, then mark out the bust measurement. That's the round bust measurement. So the bust I'm working with is 39 inches divided by 4 will give me 9.75. so this is 9.75 here. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is to mark whatever we have around on the shoulder, and we'll also mark it on the bust line so we can get a straight line for the armhole. I'm sure by now everybody must have known how to draft a basic pattern, so this shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so this is it. So the next thing we're going to do is to measure the line, the armhole line, and get the midpoint. So for the midpoint of this line is going to be 3.75. so this is it. At that point we're going to go in by 1/2 inch, and we mark, then we'll connect the armhole curve this way using the French curve. Okay, I hope you're seeing these lines. So again, no allowance around the armhole, no allowance at all, because this is a stretchy fabric. You don't need allowance at all. So the next thing we're going to do now is to take the half length. So for the half length I'm working with 16 inches, and the round waist is 32 inches. So 32 divided by 4, we should have 8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to mark that. Then I'll connect it to the bust line. This is simple. If you know how to draft a basic pattern, then you're good to go. So no allowance again, no allowance on the around the bust, no allowance on the waist. Okay, so next we're going to do is to mark the length of the blouse. The length of the blouse is 25 inches, and that 25 include the hemming allowance. I'm not adding extra. That 25 include hemming allowance. So for the measurement, we are going to use our round upper hip. So I got 40. I'm using 40. 40 divided by 4 will give me 10 inches. Okay, so I'm going to include 10 inches there. And I'll connect my waist to the upper hip measurement, and we are good to go. Okay, so we are done. So the next thing we're going to do before we cut this out is to measure is to add allowance at the shoulder, so that we'll be able to join into the front. Okay, so that is it. So I've gone ahead to cut out two. Okay, one for the back and one for the front. So I'm going to be using one for the front, then I'll adjust the neckline and the armhole. So the neckline for the front, I'm going to be using 6 inches. Okay, remember we've already cut out 1 inch from the neck, the back. Okay, the neck depth is 1 inch for the back. So for the front, we are going to be doing 6 inches. Okay, so because I'm going to be hemming or piping the neckline, I'm going to do 5.5. So by the time I pipe it, it will get to 6. So I'll measure 5.5 here. And I'll use my French cuff to connect to the shoulder this way. That is a width of the shoulder. I'm going to cut this out. So next is to adjust the armhole. So we still go down and mark a 3/4. That's the midpoint of the armhole. So this is it. I'm going to go in by 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, just small. Then I'll use my curve ruler to mark, connect to the shoulder tip and to the arm, the bust area. So the front is ready now. The next thing we're going to do now is to cut the sleeve. So for the sleeve, the length of the sleeve is going to be 7 inches, and that 7 inches include the hemming allowance. Okay, so I'll go ahead and mark out the 7 inches. So for the cap height, the cap height I'm working with is 4 inches. So this is it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to bring back my front piece. Then I'll measure the round armhole. Okay, because the sleeve is going to be very fitted. So I'll measure what I have around the armhole. And what I have there is 9.5. Let me remeasure and be sure. Okay, I have 9 inches there. So that should be a guide for me to mark my armhole on the sleeve. Okay, so I'll use my French curve. So I'll measure what I have there. I hope you're still seeing what I'm doing. Remember, we have 9 inches, so this is 9 inches here. So for the round arm, I'll be working with 6 inches, and this is my 6 inches here. So I'll connect this way. Can you see? So cut out the sleeve now. So this is our sleeve. We're going to cut the second one. So I've cut out the second sleeve, as you can see. So the next thing I did was to cut out a long piece of fabric that I'll be using to pipe the neckline. Okay, so for you to know how much you're going to cut, the width of the strap is 1.5 inch. Okay, that's the width. Okay, so for you to know the length now, what you're going to do, you're going to measure your the neckline. Let's fold into 2 so that it will be easier for us. So you measure the neckline, minusing your 1/2 inch to join the shoulder. Okay, so you are going to, okay, sorry, you're going to include that, sorry. So you measure the neckline. So what I have here is 8.5. That is unfold. So when you open it up, we should have 17 inches. Okay, so we have 17 inches. Round it, unfold is 8.5. So for you to cut, while cutting, you are not going to cut that 17 inches. You're going to be minusing 1.5 from that 17 inches. Because you don't want a situation whereby after fixing or piping your neckline, the neckline will be wider. Okay, so that 1.5 you're taking out from your round neckline will help make the neckline not to be too wide. Remember that you're working with a stretchy fabric, so you have to put that into consideration. Okay, so for the neckline for the back, you're going to do the same. Measure whatever you have. You are going to minus 1.5 from that, and we have for the back, we have 5 inches. Round it, that is on 5 inches on fold. When you open it up, it will give you 10 inches. So when you add 10 plus 17, that will give us 27. Okay, so we are going to, that's how I was able to cut out this strap. Okay, so we are going to go to the machine now, my sewing machine, so that I will show you how to pipe it. So I'm going to fold the fabric into 2 this way. Can you see? So remember that our neckline for the front is 17 inches when we measured it. So for the strap, that is the piece you're using for the piping, you're going to minus 1.5 from that, and that will give you 15.5. Okay, so you are going to pin the midpoint of the strap to the midpoint of your neckline. to be able to stitch this so that you avoid too much gathers around the neckline, because two of them are no longer equal. Now you have already minus 1.5 from your the piece you are using for the piping. Okay, so what you're going to do when you're sewing, you try to drag this to meet with the neckline itself. Please don't drag the neckline so that it will not be it won't get wider than this. So I'm going to start stitching now. We're going to be stitching by 1/4 of an inch. You have to be gentle while stitching this. To avoid overstretching the neckline. So I'm done. Can you see? So this is how it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to top stitch on it. So this excess you are seeing here, we're going to weave it out. Okay, so I'm going to push the seam allowance to the main fabric, not on the piping now. Okay, the main fabric this way. Can you see? So I'm going to top stitch on it. I hope you're seeing this. So while I'm top stitching, I will make sure that the seam allowance is on the main body, not on this piping. Okay, not on this fabric we're using for piping. So you gently do that. Please use your hand to control your machine. Don't speed, gently do it so that you have a clean finishing. So this is how it looks like when I'm done top stitching. Can you see? Can you see? Looking so clean and neat. Can you see? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to iron this. And when you're ironing, you just iron like this as if you're damping on the neckline. You don't do like this, just iron like this, just like this, so that the neck will relax well. Okay, all those places that is kind of squeeze will relax well. So I'm going to do this at the back, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So this is the back. You see, I've top stitched on it. So what I'm going to do now is to go and iron the neckline properly. I've also hemmed the down part and hemmed the front as well, hemmed the down part then, and the sleeves I've hemmed them. So what I'm going to do is to iron them properly. I'll go and finish it up, finish up the blouse, fix the sleeve to it, and I'll come back and show you the finished look. So this is the final look. This is the neckline sitting so beautifully on my neck. Can you see? So this is the sleeve, and this is the back. Let's see. So the down part of the blouse, you can see, is also sitting so well on my upper hip. So I closed the sides using 1/2 of an inch. As you can see, I'm yet to weave the inner part of the dress top. Okay, so that's all for this top. Thank you so much for watching, and see my next one. Bye.